Alhamdulillahi wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina istafa. Amma ba'd. فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم جادلهم بالتي هي أحسن صدق الله العلي العظيم. My dear brothers and sisters, as you all know that this is our third and final part on our discussion about Tafzil. Tafzil, of course, means the ranking or superiority of a particular Sahabi over the other Sahaba. As I've requested before, and I request again, that please do watch part 1 and 2 before you actually understand this one. So they are all part of the same argument, all three of them. So I do request that you please watch those before you watch this section. Today, my dear brothers and sisters, I'm going to talk about the book Matla'ul Qamrain by Hazrat Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayh, which is about Afdaliyat. And in light of what we said before, we'll try to examine and see, ask some questions. Of course, Ala Hazrat Radiallahu Ta'ala anhu is my Imam too. I've been brought up to love Ala Hazrat from a young age. And I love Ala Hazrat. He's Imam Ahl Sunnat, Mujaddid Deen of Millat, the great Ashik of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Single-handedly, he propagated the true Sunni Islam in the subcontinent. There is no doubt about Ala Hazrat being not being the Imam, astaghfirullah. But the point is, brothers and sisters, that the people that we presented prior to this discussion today were also Imams of Ahl Sunnah. There were also great Imams from the classical times, 1,000 years ago. They had an opinion. Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi has an opinion. All the ulama have difference of opinion. I give you an example. For example, Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi wrote a whole book on the kufr of Hazrat Abu Talib Raziallahu Ta'ala. No, he says that Abu Talib is not a Muslim, and he wrote the whole book on it. And yet, he disagreed with his own teacher and Shaykh, Hazrat Sayyid Ahmad Zaini Dailan Rahmatullah alayhi, was his Shaykh, his teacher, but he disagreed with him. Zaini Dailan wrote a book, Asn al-Matalib, proving the Iman of Hazrat Abu Talib. Ala Hazrat wrote a book against the Iman of Abu Talib. After Ala Hazrat, we have people like Hazrat Atta Muhammad Bandialvi Sahib Rahmatullah, who's a great teacher in Pakistan. He's passed away now. He wrote a book proving the Iman of Abu Talib, and in the book he questions all the evidences that Ala Hazrat gave. Yet he was Ahl Sunnat, Sunni Hanafi Barelvi. Hazrat Khwaja Kamruddin Sialvi Rahmatullah alayh believed in the Iman of Abu Talib. Hazrat Pir Karam Shah Sahib al-Azhari believed in, he wrote about the Iman of Abu Talib. So ulama have disagreed with each other. Ala Hazrat disagreed with his teachers, and later on people after Ala Hazrat disagreed with him. Because the ulama know the disagreement, the ulama have their own evidences, they all see a particular aspect of an issue, and they deduce from there that their opinion from that. So this difference of opinion with Ala Hazrat, it shouldn't be regarded as something anti Nauzubillah Ahl Sunnah. No, ulama have differed. I am just merely a student, and I am going to ask some questions. These are not my objections, but some questions that I find in my research on the issue of Tafzil. There are questions that I need to ask. But there's this Takfiri sect in the UK, and on television, in their speeches, everywhere, they are beating the drums of Fikr Raza. They're screaming and shouting and say, Fikr Raza hai, Fikr Raza. But this Fikr Raza that they propagate is selective. They pick and choose where Allah Hazrat, where to accept Allah Hazrat and where not to accept Allah Hazrat. For example, you see on TV channels, you see that there's a person who's asking the questions, there's a person who's replying to those questions. They both have the blackest of the dyes on their beards. They are saying that Fikr Raza. But let me ask you, Ala Hazrat said that to dye your beard black is fisk. And the person who dyes his beard black, namaz is haram behind him, it's wajibul i'ada. So whoever dyes their beard black, you cannot read namaz behind them. And if you do, you have to repeat that namaz. So if Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi came today, he wouldn't read of namaz behind these people, he would call them fasik. The same people that are saying Fikr Raza, according to Ala Hazrats, they are fasiks. You know, wearing the chains. Ala Hazrat wrote a whole Atibul Wajid. He says, wearing the chain is haram, and to read namaz behind a person who's wearing a chain is wajibul i'ada. You have to redo your namaz. Look at these people, they're wearing chains, they are fasiks, according to Ala Hazrat. Reading namaz behind, according to Ala Hazrat, is you have to repeat your namaz. So what happened to Fikr Raza now? By the way, the ruling for reading namaz behind person who dyes his beard black or who wears a chain is the same as the person who considers, for example, Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala afzal to Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq. That person also namaz behind him, according to Ala Hazrat, that is, wajibul i'ada, it's haram. So the ruling is the same, yet you choose what you like and you reject what doesn't suit your appearance. Hazrat Shah Abdul Aziz Muhaddis Delvi Rahmatullah alayhi, prior to Ala Hazrat, 36 years, he died 36 years before the birth of Ala Hazrat, he issued a whole fatwa. He says the people who love Hazrat Shaykhain but consider, for example, Hazrat Ali Afzal, then you can read namaz behind them and they are Sunni as long as they love the Shaykhain. And numerous places in Fatawa Azizia he mentions these things. It's not just one word or one line, it's the whole passages. And there are other people as well. So ulama disagreed, but this whole idea of pick and choose and yet say Fikr Raza, it seems to me to be a hypocrisy, it seems to be a pretext for their own political agendas. I mean, Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi, for example, wrote that the Sayyids are only the ones who from Imam Hassan and Imam Hassan's descent. All the other people that Hazrat Ali's awlad, they're not Sayyids, but yet the same people, Fikr Raza, same guys, they're saying the Banu Hashim are Sayyid, Alavis are Sayyid. So what happened to Ala Hazrat now? So this is the problem, this whole hypocrisy, this pretext for their own political agenda. And to me, frankly speaking, it's not like me to speak like this, but I might as well mention it. To me, it all seems like, Ya Pond Salam Alaika. That's what it means to me. However, Hazrat Pir Sayyid Nasiruddin Shah Sahib Nasir Rahmatullah alayhi Golaravi, whose book these people have written an introduction to, who they consider as a great scholar and Rahmatullah alayhi, and they do programs on TV and then they play his clips to ask for charity. In a conference in Birmingham, on Khatm Nabuwat conference, he said, I went to Imam Bargah and I read poetry there. You can see the video on YouTube. Hazrat Pir Sayyid Nasiruddin Shah Sahib Rahmatullah alayhi goes to a Shia Imam Bargah, reads Sher on Tafzil, disparages Hazrat Muawiyah. He says, for example, Dawlat-e Dunya Amir-e Sham rakhta hai to kya? And then you see all the Shia crowd in frenzy and wah, subhanallah, all the Shia ulama saying that Nasiruddin Shah Sahib is saying all this. He says further on that De ke bistar kar diya tha faisla hijrat ki shab, aql ka andha abhi tartib ke chakkar mein hai. He clearly professes to afzaliyat of Hazrat Ali alayhi salam. He goes to Imam Bargah, Shia Imam Bargah. He disparages Hazrat Muawiyah in that share. He talks about the afzaliyat of Hazrat Ali over all others. Yet, where is your fatwas for him? You're writing taqreers on his book. Even now, you do urs. So why this selective? And on the other hand, people on the other side, what they do, all they say is that, this is, they say that Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq is Afzal, and in the order of Khilafat, but all they are saying that this matter is not ijma'i, but it's majority of Ahl Sunnah Aqidah. That's mainly what they're saying. Yeah, on the other side, you have these which Sunni alim says that it's allowed for Sunnis to go to Imam Bargah and speak there. And all the Shia crowd says, wow, when you disparage Hazrat Muawiyah, when you did Tafziliyat of Hazrat Ali. Who? Give the fatwa there. I mean, these are the things that when I see, I think, why are you being selective? Is there a political agenda? I mean, these people live in Bradford. Here is I've got a book here, and it's called Khasaisul Qadiriyya fi Fazail Noshahiyya. It's written by Hazrat Allama Sharif Ahmad Sharafat Sahib Noshahi, who died in 1982, a great Noshahi scholar and a sheikh. I have a signed copy by Hazrat Pir Maruf Hussain Sahib Noshahi, dated 17th of December 1996. This is a Noshahi book, available everywhere, printed by Idara-e-Ma'arif Noshahiyya. It's printed everywhere. It's distributed in Bradford. Now look what he says in the book. Before I move on to, I'm sorry, this may take long today again, but this is the final one, and then that's it. So hear me out, my dear brothers and sisters. In this book, for example, he says on page 22, Sharafat Nosai Sahib Rahmatullah Alayh, what does he say? He says, Arja Matalib mein hai ke Sahaba Kiram mein se Hazrat Abbas, Hazrat Salman Farsi, Hazrat Abu Zar Ghafari, Hazrat Miqdad bil Aswad, Hazrat Khubab bin Art, Hazrat Jabir bin Abdullah Ansari, Hazrat Abu Zaid Khudri, Hazrat Zaid bin Arqam, Fatwa al-Wasla, Fazilat Ali ala ghair ke qail the. So he gives a list of Sahaba and he says they considered Hazrat Ali alayhi salam as the most afzal. Or further on, he says Hazrat Abbas ka marne tak yahi itiqad tha ki Hazrat Amir sab Sahaba se afzal hai. Hazrat Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib, the uncle of the Prophet, his Aqidah was that Hazrat Ali was the most afzal, right, until he died. Then further on, interestingly actually, he says on page 27, the whole book is about Tafzil, but since it's close to home, Yapon Salam Alayka, so you can't issue fatwa on him who's clearly saying Hazrat Ali is afzal. Here he says, Maktubat Imam Rabbani Daftar Awwal Maktub number 251 में है कि चूंकि हज़रत अमीर विलायत मोहम्मदी के हामिल हैं, इसलिए मशाइख औलिया के अक्सर सिलसिले उनसे मुंतसिब हुए हैं और हज़रत अमीर के कमालात हज़रात शेखैन के कमालात की निस्बत अक्सर औलिया इज़ाम पर जो कमालात विलायत से मखसूस हैं ज़्यादातर ज़ाहिर हुए। अगर शेखैन की अफजलियत पर अहले सुन्नत का इजमा ना होता तो अक्सर औलिया इज़ाम का कशफ हज़रत अमीर की अफजलियत का हुक्म देता। And what does he say at the end? The concludes Sharafat Noshahi Sahib, he says, इससे साबित हुआ कि जमी औलिया उम्मत के कशफ हज़रत अमीर की अफजलियत को साबित करते हैं. So Hazrat Mujaddid al-Fasani Sheikh Ahmad Sarhandi says that awliya ikram who do kashaf, this another channel of information, this inspiration rather than reason, and when the mysteries of the unseen are unveiled for these awliya, saints, he goes, what they see in their kashaf is all they see in their higher state of being and higher state of knowing, of marifah. What do they see? They see that in their kashaf, Hazrat Ali is the most afzal. But yet, because of the Zahir al-Sunnah, the creed, ijma, that Hazrat Ali cannot be afzal, Shaykhain are afzal, therefore they don't say anything. But Sharafat Noshahi Sahib concludes that isse sabit hua कि जमी औलिया उम्मत, that according to all the awliya ummat's kashaf, Hazrat Ali is the most afzal. So he concludes from Hazrat Mujaddid al-Fasani. Page 28, I finished his conclusion. He says here, he says, बस इन 5 आयात कुरान मजीद, 21 हदीस नबविया, 5 आसार सहाबा किराम, 10 अक़वाल मुहद्दिसीन, 5 इरशादात औलिया अल्लाह, 46 दलाइल कविया मुहकमा से साबित हुआ कि हज़रत अमीर को तमाम सहाबा मुहाजिरीन अंसार पर फजीलत हासिल है और तफजील मुर्तज़वी का एतकाद अकाबिर सहाबा मुज्तहिदीन अहले सुन्नत औलिया किराम से मुतवारिसन मुतवातिरन चला आया है. He goes, I have proved in this book from 5 verses, 21 hadiths, 5 sayings of the companions, 10 sayings of the muhaddiseen, 5 sayings of the awliya, 46, with 46 proofs, I have proved that Hazrat Ali alayhi salam is the most afzal than all the Sahaba and Ansar. Tafzil and afzaliyat of Tafzil Murtazawi ka itikad, and Sahaba Kiram, Mujtahidin Ahl Sunnat Awliya Kiram, from there we find it concurrently, continuously, that they consider Hazrat Ali alayhi salam as the most afzal. So this whole book, printed by Nushaiya, Idara Marf Nushaiya, Sharif Ahmed Saab Nushai, right? He says Hazrat Ali is the most afzal. Spread, distributed in Bradford. Fatwa, where's the fatwa now? If you are really haq and truth, fikr raza, so what happened to fikr raza? You know, when you do tabligh, when people do tabligh, you are supposed to do tabligh from your home. Then go to the next city. This is your home, man. This is Bradford. Do tabligh here. Issue the fatwa. But you can't. Why? Ya pon salam alayka. That's the reason. I'm sorry, I'm just being emotional here. But the point is that, look, be objective, be judicious. Don't select from Ala Hazrat the same things that the ruling is, according to Ala Hazrat, if he comes back, these same people, namaz is not allowed behind them. Allah Hazrat will considers these people fasik. So why? What happens there? No, because when it comes to you, then we select Allah Hazrat, pick and choose what fatwas he offers. So this was just to explain to you that it is not just we disagree with Allah Hazrat, rahmatullah alayh. Ulama in the past, before him, ulama after him disagreed with him. And the same people who are beating the drums of Fikr Raza also disagree with him, but yet they focus on other things. So this is just a preliminary for you to know that, it's not, there's no consistency in the approach of the people who I'm refuting. However, let's move on to the book now. And I'm sorry, this might take long because it's already taken long. Here Allah Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi, in his book about Afzaliyat Matla al-Kamran, there are a few points I need to make. And the points are this. I have selected the section which I think is the most important and which is like relevant to our discussion. The strongest section out of all of these. Because, if you was to go for hadith, there's a hadith for the Afzaliyat of Hazrat Shaykhain, there's a hadith for the Afzaliyat of Hazrat Ali. For example, I'll give you an example. In Tirmizi, Nasai, Tabrani, and a host of other books, it says, Hazur Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says that a roasted bird came to him and he didn't want to eat it on his own, and he goes, Allahumma aitini bi ahabbi khalqika ilayk. Oh Allah, send to me the one who is most loved in your creation. Ahabbi khalqika ilayk. Allahumma aitini bi ahabbi khalqika ilayk. Ya'kulu ma'i hadha at-tayr. Who will come and eat this with me. And guess what happened? Faja'a Ali. And then Hazrat Ali came and he ate the bird with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Ali, according to this, is ahabbi khalqik, the most beloved of Allah Ta'ala in his creation. Of course, Hazur Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is saying it, so he's not included. The most beloved. And this hadith, for example, Majmu' Zawaid says, Rijalu Tibrani, Rijalu Sahih. The narrators of Tibrani are Sahih. Illa Fitr bin Khalifa wa huwa thika. Except for Fitr bin Khalifa, but wa huwa thikatun, he is also authentic. And by the way, Fitr bin Khalifa is a reporter of the Bukhari. So, Al-Hasami says it's a Sahih Sanad. In Lisanul Mizan, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, elsewhere he said something else, but here he comes to talk about Muhammad bin Ayyad, and he says, oh, I used to think that this chain of Imam Hakim about Hadith there, the same Hadith that I read, wasn't, everything was correct, but this reporter, but he goes, now I think this is a Sahih chain, it's his authentic chain. Annahu Saduq. Then now I think that guy was a truthful one. So he considers the Hadith Sahih. Now, if there's a Hadith there, you can argue that Hazrat Ali is afdal. Whereas there are other Hadiths that say Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, Hazrat Umar Farooq are afdal. And they both contradict each other. Therefore, they become speculative. Because the very fact that these are hadith, khabar wahid, single chain of reporters, inherently they are speculative and conjectural. So anyway, however, let's move on to our main discussion here. This book here, printed by Jamia Islamia Qariya, Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Rahmatullah Alayhi's book, Matlab Kamrain, and you can also, I think, find this online. It's researched by some Mufti Sahib, I don't know his name, I'm sorry. So here Allah says, Bab Awwal Nasus wa Akhbar wa Ijma wa Asar se Afzaliyat Shaykhain ke isbat mein. That the first chapter about texts and, Ijma, that's what I'm focusing. He goes, the first Bab about the Ijma of Afzaliyat Shaykhain. That this Bab is the one I'm focusing on. He goes, Al-Fasl al-Awwal fil Ijma. That the first chapter, first Fasl, is a first sort of section out of the chapter, fil Ijma. So he is saying, arguing here, that Shaykhain, Rizwanullah alayhima, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, Hazrat Umar Farooq are afzal to Hazrat Ali, and not just Hazrat Ali, but they are afzal to everybody else, and so on. And he says, the claim before this is Afzaliyat Shaykhain. So he goes that there is ijma, that Hazrat the Shaykhain, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, Hazrat Umar Farooq are the most afzal. So the claim is that there is ijma on the afzaliyat of Shaykhain. This much is in there, is the claim. Now the first evidence Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi presents in this respect, he says, Sayyidina Abdullah bin Umar raziyallahu ta'ala anhu farmate hain. This is in Bukhari. This is the first evidence for the afzaliyat of Shaykhain, as the title suggests and as the writing in between suggests. He is proving that there is ijma on the afzaliyat of Shaykhain, and the very first evidence that he presents, he says, Sayyidina Abdullah bin Umar raziyallahu ta'ala farmate hain, it's in Bukhari, that हम गरोह सहाबा ज़माने रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम में अबू बकर, फिर उमर, फिर उस्मान के बगैर किसी को ना गिनते थे. And the second evidence, he says, Sayyidina Abu Hurairah रज़ियल्लाहु ताला फरमाते हैं, and this is in Ibn Asakir, हम असहाब रसूल सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम कसीर और मुतवाफिर कहा करते अफजल उम्मत बाद रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम अबू बकर सिद्दीक हैं, फिर उमर फारूक हैं. In this one, he just stays Abu Bakr, Umar, Farooq, and then he stops. Now, these are the two hadiths, the sayings of the Sahaba. One's in Sahih Bukhari, and the other one is Ibn Asakir. The one from Abu Hurairah, the second one, is very problematic because Hazrat Abu Hurairah, that's a very, 18 reporters to that hadith, by the way. However, Hazrat Abu Hurairah, we've explained to you in the last segment, in the last second part, that Hazrat Abu Hurairah considered Hazrat Ja'far bin Abi Talib as most afzal. And you will see that in Qazi Abu Bakr ibn al-Arabi's commentary on Tirmizi, you will see that in Ibn Hazm's Al-Fisl, and you will also actually see in Ibn Hajar Asqalani's Isaba. Here he says in Isaba, this is his final analysis. He says, Kana Abu Hurairah yaqul innahu afzalun nas ba'da an-nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That Ja'far bin Abi Talib is the most afzal after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So here from the Sahih report and the Sahih sanad, it is reported from Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. It's been reported from him that Hazrat Ja'far bin Abi Talib was the most afzal. Yet we have here a weak report from Ibn Asakir, which says that we used to say in the times of the Prophet, the most afzal Abu Bakr Siddiq, then Umar Farooq. Okay, so that much is the context. Let me go and explain to you everything. These two reports, by the way, when Allah Hazrat says about Hazrat Abu Hurairah's report, that Afzal Ummah Samajate Abu Bakr Siddiq, Phir Umar Farooq, and he just says it, and the other version of Mutlaq Qumran is the same. He mentioned just the two names. But in Ibn Asakir, it says that the Prophet, Sahaba Karam Rizwanullah alayhi, used to say that Afzalo, Hazil Ummati Ba'da Nabiya Abu Bakr, Summa Umar, Summa Usman, Summa Naskut. That we used to say Abu Bakr, Umar, then Usman, then Naskut, then we used to remain quiet. But here we only have Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq and Hazrat Umar Farooq and Hazrat Usman is missing in there. But however, this is a very weak report anyway, but that's not my argument. I will prove to you. So here you have Abu Hurairah ibn Asakir and Abdullah ibn Umar. We both treat them as the same. Here in Sahih Bukhari, so let's look at this hadith, research for it. Allah Hazrat proves this hadith, presents this hadith as the support for the ijma on Shaykhain, right? What is the hadith? Hadith here is this. Hazrat Abdullah ibn Umar is in Sahih Bukhari, Manaqib Hazrat Usman. He says that kunna fi zaman Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam la na'dilu bi Abi Bakr ahadan. That in the times of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam we did not consider anyone afzal to Abu Bakr, summa Umar, summa Usman, then Usman. Summa natruku ashab an-nabiy la nufadilu bainahum. And then we used to natruk, then we used to stop after that, and we did not consider anyone afzal to anyone. So that's the hadith. The problem with this hadith is that Hazrat Abdullah ibn Umar stops here with Hazrat Abu Bakr, Hazrat Usman. Allah Hazrat is giving this ijma on the afzaliyat of Shaykhain. Shaykhain mean Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq and Hazrat Umar Farooq. Yet the claim is the ijma on afzaliyat Shaykhain, whereas the dalil, the evidence for it, does not just hold on to Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar. He says summa Usman. So the hadith says that we did not consider anybody equal to Abu Bakr, Umar and Usman. So the claim is that two are the most afzal, yet the dalil, the evidence which is presented, it mentions three. Why can't you say that the ijma on three of them? Because there is a difference, Allah Hazrat himself reports here, in the footnote to Abu Shakur Salmi is saying, and he says, there was a difference amongst Ahl Sunnah between Hazrat Ali and Hazrat Usman. So if this ijma, the hadith is that we used to consider Hazrat Abu Bakr, Hazrat Umar, and Hazrat Usman, then we used to stop. When they considered all equal, I mean Hazrat Ali doesn't even come in number 4. There's no frame for him. Everybody was equal. This hadith is obviously, I will show you from the ulama, that they think that after the Khulafai Rashidin is Ashab Badr, Ashab Uhud, Bayt Ridwan, which are definitely in the Quran, for example. And the whole ummah agrees that their status is also afzal, but yet here everybody la nufadilu bainahum, then we did not consider anybody equal to anyone. So this is the problem with the hadith, that it goes against the massive agreement of the Quran. The explicit text is saying that the Ahl Badr, Ahl Uhud, Bayt Ridwan is ijma of all the ummah on it, really. And so basically that's the problem with the hadith itself, which I will come to. But here, the main problem here, and the main question that I find, is Allah Hazrat is claiming that the afzaliyat for Shaykhain, there is ijma on afzaliyat of Shaykhain, which is Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, Hazrat Umar. Yet the hadith that he presents, it doesn't just not mention those two. It mentions both of the hadiths that are quoted from Abu Hurairah and from Hazrat Abdullah ibn Umar. Both hadiths, they mention, though in the writing here, in the last one is Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq and Hazrat Umar, and then there's no name of Hazrat Usman, but in Ibn Asakir, he says Abu Bakr, Summa Umar, Summa Usman, Summa Naskut. So it's there, but it's not in here. But however, the point is that the claim is that the two are the most afzal. And the dalil you're giving is, which mentions three. First Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Usman. So this is a problematic evidence. Because you say ijma for Shaykhain, yet you present something which is not about Shaykhain, which is about Hazrat Abu Bakr, Hazrat Umar, Hazrat Usman, all three of them. So that's the first problem that we have with this, the first evidence that Allah Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi presents. In Al-Istiyab, I hope you understood the hadith already. In Al-Istiyab, we have Imam Ibn Abdul Bar say that the hadith, Ibn Umar, the hadith that we've just read, and that Allah Hazrat presents, he says, Kunna nakulu ala ahdi Rasulullah, that we used to say in the times of the Prophet, first Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Usman, then we used to remain quiet about everybody. Ya'ni, he says, La nufadila, that we didn't give fadila, didn't consider anybody afzal to anybody. Everybody was equal. Hazrat Ali was like everybody else. وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَنْكَرَ, and this is what Ibn Abdul Bar says, this hadith is what Hazrat Yahya bin Ma'in, radiallahu ta'ala, who died in 233, and Ibn Taymiyyah says even, that if Ibn Ma'in considers something sahih, then that is sahih. If he considers something daif, then that is daif. That is weak. Ibn Abdul Bar says that Ibn Mu'in denied, rejected this hadith, al-istiab. He says, Ibn Mu'in denied this hadith. Why? وَتَكَلَّمَ فِيهِ بِكَلَامٍ غَلِيظٍ, and he spoke really harshly about this. He did not accept this hadith at all. Why? Because لأن القائل بذلك قد قال بخلاف ما اجتمع عليه أهل السنة من السلف والخلف من أهل الفقه والأثر. That because the one who says this, Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, and then we remain quiet, goes against what has been agreed upon by Ahl Sunnah in the Salaf, in the pious predecessors, and those who came after, from amongst the people of fiqh and hadith. Anna Ali and Afzal al-Nasi ba'd Usman, that even this much is agreed by all of them, that Hazrat Ali comes forth after Hazrat Usman. Yet Hazrat Ali, the hadith says that we remain quiet and don't consider anybody. So this goes against massively reported ideas, massively held views. Secondly, وَهَذَا مِمَّا لَمْ يَخْتَلِفُوا فِيهِ وَإِنَّمَا اخْتَلَفُوا فِي تَفْضِيلِ عَلِيٍّ. And he goes, this is not the only, he goes, they differed in the tafzil of Ali. وَاخْتَلَفَ السَّلْفُ أَيْضًا فِي تَفْضِيلِ عَلِيٍّ وَأَبِي بَكْرٍ. And he says there was a difference of opinion about who is Hazrat Ali or Usman, and there was a difference of opinion amongst our pious predecessors between Hazrat Ali and Hazrat Abu Bakr, who is Hazrat Ali or Hazrat Abu Bakr. So Yahya bin Ma'in, Imam Yahya bin Ma'in has denied this hadith, has rejected this hadith. So it's the very hadith that's been presented is not free of its problems. People have denied it, and the reason of the denial is that this goes against the, what's held, you know, Ahl Badr, Ahl Uhud, it just considers everybody equal. Now, la nufadila bainahum. Then we didn't consider anybody afdal to anybody. And we just stopped after Hazrat Usman and Ali. So the scholars of hadith had a really big problem explaining this. In Fathul Bari, Ibn Hajar Asqalani, for example, he says, after struggling to explain the true meaning of the hadith, he eventually says, well, وَقَدْ جَاءَ فِي بَعْضِ الطُّرُقِ فِي حَدِيثِ Ibn Umar, that, you know, in some other reports, chains from Ibn Umar, this hadith is reported with تَقِيدُ الْخَيْرِيَّةِ الْمَذْكُورَةِ وَالْأَفْضَلِيَّةِ بِمَا يَتَعَلَّقُ بِالْخِلَافَةِ. That he limits this hadith. When he says we used to consider Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, and then we would remain quiet, he didn't mean it in afzaliyat, the one that we're talking about. He actually meant it in khilafat. As we've discussed in the first part, that we didn't mean it in afzaliyat, as Abdullah bin Umar says, we meant it in khilafat. And then he reports, he goes, An Salim an Ibn Umar qala innakum lata'lamuna annakunna نقول ولا عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أبو بكر وعمر وعثمان يعني في الخلافات. So Hazrat Abdullah ibn Umar himself explained it, that when we used to say in the times of the Prophet that first Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Usman, we didn't say it in afzaliyat, but we said it yani fil khilafat. We said that they are the most suitable for khilafat. So here we have Ibn Hajar Asqalani trying to explain that this is in khilafat. Yet we have here as a dalil for ijma in Matlaq Tumrain. And the claim is for the two, the evidence presented is for the three, and not only three, the ulama, imams have had a problem with this hadith, and they have tried to get out of it, try to explain it, because it explicitly goes against what's accepted by everybody. That there is ranks between the Sahaba after the three. Or there are other ranks, but this hadith totally denies the ranks of anybody. So this is a problem. So Imam Ibn Hajar Asqalani tries to get out by presenting another hadith and say actually he meant it in khilafah. So hence there is no problem now because it's in khilafah. But I have a question to Imam Ibn Hajar Asqalani also. I mean, also he presents Ibn Asakir, by the way. The same Ibn Asakir in for Abu Hurairah, he presented Ibn Asakir as a Sahih Sanad, saying that this is in Khilafah. But you know, there's a problem, because when Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu made the committee, the Shura, after him, if this was the position of the Sahaba, that in Khilafah Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, and then why didn't Hazrat Umar do what his son Ibn Umar is saying? So it proves that Hazrat Umar didn't even agree with this opinion. Because otherwise, why would he make a committee of 6 people and say, choose any one of them? Or why would he say, if Abu Ubaidah was alive, I would give him the Khilafah? So the very fact that Hazrat Umar didn't, otherwise, if this was the case, then why didn't he straight away made Hazrat Usman Ghani as a Khalifa, instead of making a committee of 6 and choosing one after that? So this is also a problematic explanation. So the very hadith presented for ijma is very problematic. The ulama, it's not even for afzaliyat, according to Ibn Hajar Asqalani's analysis. Let's see what Mullah Ali Qari al-Hanafi says. Okay? Mullah Ali Qari al-Hanafi explains the same hadith that, you know, after Summa Natrak wa Sahaba Nabi, and then we used to stop comparing anybody, and he clearly sees that, you know, Ahl Bayt are also somewhere here, and he is saying that everybody is equal, and after the 3, and that's it. So, Mullah Ali Qari, what does he say? He says, well, Allah, perhaps, Hazrat Tafadul Bain al-Ashabi, that this comparison that Hazrat Abdullah ibn Umar is talking about is between the Sahaba Ikram only. وَأَمَّا أَهْلُ الْبَيْتِ فَهُمْ أَخَصُّ مِنْهُمْ وَحُكْمُهُمْ يُغَايِرُهُم فَلَا يَرِدُ أَدْمُ ذِكْرِ عَلِيٍّ وَالْحَسَنَيْنِ وَالْأَمَّيْنِ. And he goes, well, this comparison is about the Sahaba only. But Ahl Bayt, they have a special case, أَخَصُّ مِنْهُمْ. And their ruling is different to the ruling of the Sahaba. And that's why Abdullah ibn Umar didn't mention Ali, Hassan, Hussein, Hazrat Abbas, and Hamza. So he tries to explain this hadith, Mullah Ali Qari tries to explain it, well, it doesn't really mean Ahl Bayt. And some people have tried to explain this hadith, well, Hazrat Ali alayhi salam was actually young at the time, and that's why he only meant to mention the elders. But the reporter is Hazrat Abdullah ibn Umar. He was merely 17, 18 or something like that at the time. Hazrat Ali alayhi salam was 34. Hazur Pak sallallahu alayhi wasallam saw a fit that Ali would be the Qazi of Yemen. He sends him as a Qazi of Yemen. So if he was young, Hazur Pak sallallahu alayhi wasallam thought him he's responsible for a whole city, for a whole place. So this hadith, basically the point I'm trying to make is this is very problematic. The first evidence that Allah Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi presents, the ulama are in agreement that it's for, Ibn Hajar says it's not for afzaliyat, it's for khilafat. Mullah Ali Qari says that it's actually for the Ahl Bayt are exempt from it. It's only about the Sahaba. And I could go on and on. So the very first evidence, the strongest evidence, and the first evidence Allah Hazrat Rahmatullah has presented for ijma of Shaykhain has a problem. First, it claims that is for the afzaliyat of 2, yet the evidence which is presented is about 3. That's the first problem. Secondly, the Yahya bin Ma'in denied the hadith because it doesn't mention Hazrat Ali in it. Abdullah bin Umar Imam Ibn Abdul Bar questions it. Yahya bin Ma'in questions it. Ali bin al-Ja'ad, Tabi questions it. Here we have Mullah Ali Qari trying to explain it away and says the Ahl Bayt are exempt. Ibn Hajar Asqalani says it means for Khilafah. So, what kind of hadith can we present for ijma? So this hadith, the first evidence, is very problematic, as you've all heard, you've all rational, so you understand what I'm trying to say. The second evidence in this regard. So the first one doesn't really hold any water because of the problems with it, and actually the hadith presented for ijma, there is no ijma that is for afzaliyat, as you've seen. And the second thing that Matlal Kumran, which is presented, is this. It says, Hazrat Maimun bin Mehran se sawal hua, Shaykhain afzal ya Ali. इस कलमा के सुनते ही उनके बदन पर लर्जा पड़ा, यहाँ तक कि असा दस्त मुबारक से गिर गया और फरमाया, मुझे गुमान न था इस जमाने तक जिंदा रहूंगा जिसमें लोग अबू बकर उमर के बराबर किसी को बताएंगे। यहाँ से जाहिर है कि जमाने सहाबा व ताबईन में तफजील शेखैन पर इजमा था। So he says that this man, Yahya bin Maimun bin Mehran, he was asked the question that who is Afzal, Shaykhain or Ali? And after when he heard this, he started shaking and his walking stick fell from his hand, and he goes, oh, would I be alive to the day when people will start making comparisons between Shaykhain and Ali? So Al-Hazrat says from this it proves also that Tabi'een times and Sahaba times that there was ijma of Shaykhain. And this report is from Hilyatul Awliya. Okay, let's go straight to Hilyatul Awliya and track this down and see what the report is really. This is the second evidence presented for Afzaliyah. It says here, it's reported by Furat bin Saib, and he, Salto Maimun, he's the one asking Maimun bin Mehran, and he says that who is Afzal, and the same report is here. Allah Hazrat quotes the bit that's relevant to Tafzil, but the longer text says, he says that ما كنت أظن أن أبقى إلى زمان يؤذل بهما ذرهما كان رأس الإسلام ورأس الجماعة, or so on. So he is the same thing, that the thing fell out of his hands, and he says, would I be alive to this time when people would do such a thing? فقلت, and Furat bin Saib, the reporter says, فأبو بكر كان أول إسلاما أو علي? Who was the first person to become Muslim, Ali or Hazrat Abu Bakr? The Maimun bin Mehran, the same, this is the whole text. He says, Qala wallahi, by God, laqad amana Abu Bakr bin Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam zamana bahira rahib hina marra bihi. That, wallahi, by God, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq became a mu'min, a believer, a Muslim, in the times of Bahira Rahib. Bahira Rahib's time was when Hazur Pak was 12 years of age, and he went to Syria with Janabi Hazrat Abu Talib Razillah Ta'ala. So Maimun bin Mehran says Abu Bakr became Mu'min when in the 12 years of age. So what about Halima Sadiya then? When Hazur Pak 6. But anyway, and he says, وَاِخْتَلَفَ فِي مَا بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ خَدِيجَةَ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهَا حَتَّى أَنْكَحَ إِيَّاهُ وَذَلِكَ كُلُّهُ قَبْلَ أَنْ يُولَدَ عَلِيٌّ. And he said, but who became first Muslim or second Muslim, there's a difference between him, Hazrat Abu Bakr, and Hazrat Khadija, until Hazur Pak married her. What? Is there a single person in the history of Islam, any Imam, anyone, that said that Hazrat Sayyida, there is a difference between who is the first moment between Hazrat Khadija and Hazrat Abu Bakr? Is there anyone? Hazrat Sayyida Khadijatul Kubra Salamullah alayha, by unanimously the whole Ummah believes that she was the first Muslim. And yet Maimun bin Mehran is saying, well, there's a difference between who became a Muslim first, Hazrat Abu Bakr or Hazrat Khadija. Now, need I say anything more? But that is the problem with the whole text itself. Secondly, what about the Maimun bin Mehran? What about him himself? What kind of, he is saying, Hazrat Ali, this time, would the time come when I will be questioned like that, Hazrat Ali or Shaykhain? And then he says, for example, would I be alive at this time when people will equate Ali with Shaykhain? It was really, this reaction tells me. Let me tell you, Maimun bin Mehran, Tahzibul Kamal, by Mizzi, Hafiz Mizzi, this is a Rijal work. What does he say in here? Though he was authentic, but what was his signs? وَكَانَ يَحْمِلُ عَلَىٰ عَلِيٍّ. Maimun bin Mehran used to disparage, degrade, criticize. Who? Hazrat Ali alayhi salam. Kana yahmilu ala aliyin. वो हजरत अली पे हमले करता था. Mahmoud bin Mehran. So no wonder the stick is falling out of his hand then. Here you have Tahzib Tahzib. What does it say here? Wakana Mahmoud bin Mehran Wakana Yahmilu ala Aliyin. He used to disparage Hazrat Ali alayhi salam. He used to degrade him. So is that authentic for us to accept? For Mahmoud bin Mehran and Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi present it as tabi'eens, ijma' and so on. Let's say that Mahmoud bin Mehran, fine, is authentic, especially in regards to Hazrat Ali, we still believe in him. Okay, fine. What about Furat bin Saib? Furat bin Saib, the guy reporting from Mahmoud bin Mehran, what about him? Furat bin Saib, Qala al-Bukhari, Munkar al-Hadith. Qala ibn Ma'in, Laysa bishay. Qala Darqutni, Matruk. Qala Ahmad bin Hanbal, Qareebun min Muhammad bin Ziyad. And he's near to Muhammad bin, in the same status as Muhammad bin Ziyad al-Tahan. What is the status of Muhammad bin Ziyad al-Tahan? Kazzab. Read up, Ahmad bin Hanbal says, Kazzab, liar, outright. Everybody has rejected totally. Who? The guy asking the questions for Mahmoud bin Mehran. So that reporter is rejected. Lisan al-Mizan. Ibn Hajar Asqalani says, وَلَيْسَ بِهَذَا Furat, talking about other Furat, Furat bin Saib al-Jazri, Zaka wahin daif. That Furat bin Saib is extremely weak. Wahyat. Wahin daif. He is like he's weak. So the very basis that we have ijma presentation here, that afzaliyat shaykhain ke isbat mein, fasl al-awwal fil ijma, you've seen the first hadith, I have explained. Look, the second one, Mahmoud bin Mehran. So many problems with it. And he says that, he says in the whole text of the book, he says, oh, I'm not sure who was past Muslim, Ali or Hazrat Abu Bakr came. I mean, look, here we have Imam Hakim in his book Kitab Marifat Ulum al-Hadith, his book on Usul al-Hadith, very, very old work by Imam Hakim, who's like 400 and some years ago, 403, 405 I think he died in. He says, وَلَا أَعْلَمُ خِلَافًا بَيْنَ أَصْحَابِ التَّوَارِيخِ أَنَّ عَلِيَّ بْنَ أَبِي طَالِبْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى عَنْهُ أَوَّلُهُمْ إِسْلَامًا. That according to Imam Hakim, he goes, I don't know anyone from the historians of Islam that anybody has said that anybody else became the first Muslim after, other than Hazrat Ali. Obviously he's talking about the men. Here, Tariq al-Khulafa, we have Qala ibn Kasir وَالظَّاهِرَ أَنَّ أَهْلَ بَيْتِهِ آمَنُوا قَبْلَ كُلِّ أَحَدٍ وَزَوْجَتُهُ خَدِيجَةُ وَمَوْلَاهُ زَيْدُ وَزَوْجَتُهُ زَيْدُ وَأُمُّ وَعَلِي وَوَرَقَةُ انتهى. This says, Jalaluddin Suyuti says, that Ibn Kasir says that the most apparent thing in here is that the first people to become Muslims were Ahl Bayt, like Sayyida Zawja, Hazrat Khadija, Hazrat Zayd, Zayd's wife, Hazrat Ali and Warqah bin Nawfal. So anyway, that's not what I wanted to say, but there's problem with this too. I'm a student. I research, I look, then I have questions. I am seeking answers. These are not objections, these are seeking questions, seeking answers. So that's the state of the second evidence. The third evidence here, it says, in this regard, the Tafzil Shaykhain. It says, इस तरह इमाम शाफी वगैरह अकाबिर आइमा सदात उलमा इस्माना पर इजमा सहाबा व ताबीन नकल करते हैं कमा हकाउल बहकी. That similarly Imam Shafi'i, this is the third main evidence, right? It says Imam Shafi'i has reported ijma of Sahaba and Tabi'in as it's been reported by Bayhaqi. So it's reported by Bayhaqi that Imam Shafi'i Razillah Ta'ala anhu said that the Shaykhain are the most afdal. Right? That's reported by Bayhaqi. Imam Ibn Hajar Asqalani, for example, says here, وَنَقَلَ الْبَهْكِي فِي الْإِعْتِقَادِ. The Imam Bahki reports this in his Al-I'tiqad, which is this book here, بِسَنَدِهِ إِلَىٰ أَبِي ثَوْرٍ, with his chain from Abi Thawr, Anish Shafi, from Shafi'i, أنه قال, he says, Hazrat Imam Shafi says, أجمع الصحابة وأتباعهم على أفضلية أبي بكر ثم عمر ثم عثمان ثم علي. He says in Al-I'tiqad, Bahki says that Imam Shafi has reported that there is ijma of Sahaba and Tabi'in, ijma of Sahaba, that Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq is most afdal, then Hazrat Umar, then Hazrat Usman, then Hazrat Ali. This is how Ibn Hajar Asqalani, referring to the same book, says that ijma of Sahaba on first Abu Bakr Siddiq, then Hazrat Umar, then Hazrat Usman, then Hazrat Ali. Right? Al-I'tiqad. You've read Ala Hazrat say that as reported by Bahki. Here's Al-I'tiqad. Let's read what it says in here before we present our argument. He says, Rawayna an Abi Thawr an Shafi'i annahu qala. So Bahki says it's been reported to me from Abu Thawr and Shafi'i, and he reports from Shafi'i. First of all, Abu Thawr died in 240. Imam Bahki died in 458. So there are 218 years gap of sanad. No mention of sanad. Though he says that I've put the sanad in my book Al-Fazail, but I request my dear brothers and sisters to bring me that sanad from somewhere. It is not there, but that's not my argument. I will explain that later. However, from Shafi, he says, مَخْتَلَفَ أَحَدٌ مِنَ الصَّحَابَةِ وَالتَّابِعِينَ فِي تَفْزِيلِ أَبِي بَكْرَ وَعُمَرَ. Then not a single Sahabi disagreed, or Tabi'in disagreed in the tafzil, in considering Hazrat Shaykhain as most afzal, وَالتَّقْدِيمِ مَا عَلَى جَمِيعِ الصَّحَابَةِ, and then they were the most afzal of all the Sahaba. وَإِنَّمَا اخْتَلَفَ مَنْ اخْتَلَفَ مِنْهُمْ فِي عَلِيٍّ وَعُثْمَانٍ, and those who differed, they differed between Ali and Uthman. وَنَحْنُ لَا نُخْتِي وَاحِدًا مِنْ أَصْحَابِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ, but we do not say that any of the Sahaba made a mistake. Okay? Just a quick observation. Imam Ibn Hajar Asqalani says, نقل البيكي في الاعتقاد بسنده إلى أبي ثور. Same thing. The Imam Shafi said that there is ijma of Sahaba on afzaliyat of Hazrat Abu Bakr, on Hazrat Umar, then Hazrat Usman, then Hazrat Ali. Here it says, Imam Shafi says that there's no one that differed between the afzaliyat of Shaykhain, Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar, but they differed in the afzaliyat of Hazrat Ali and Hazrat Usman. I don't know where Imam Asqalani, what happened after Hazrat Umar? He says, Summa Umar, Summa Usman, Summa Ali. But here it's not. It says, in the first two are most afdal, the second two there's difference. Whereas the same thing, Ajma. So here, the careless reporting of Ijma on all four. However, so this hadith, report by Imam Shafi, Rahmatullah alayh. Imam Shafi has written many books. It's not in any of his books. Kitab al is Risala, anywhere. The only place you will find it is here. Everybody that refers to it is this book. Okay. Now, what is it claiming? It says, مَخْتَلَفَ أَحَدٌ مِنَ الصَّحَابَةِ وَالتَّابِعِينَ, which others understood to be ijma of Sahaba. I will keep it at that. It says, none differed in ijma of Sahaba. First of all, there's 218 years of sanad missing. Let's say that we find that sanad. What would it remain? It will always remain as Khabrul Wahid. Supposing that it's a Sahih sanad, and there is one, which I'm unable to trace. But let's say there is one, and it is Sahih sanad. It will forever be, Imam Shafi's report that there's ijma of Sahaba, it will forever be what? It will forever be Khabrul Wahid. It will forever be conjectural. It will be single chain of narration, single chain of report. About ijma which is binding. Ijma of Sahaba is like Quran, is like the Sunnah, Mutawatira, it's ijma, it's binding so much. So, this much we know that it's ahad, this ijma, as it's clear from here. Now, the big confusion amongst the people is that they claiming ijma left, right and center. But ijma, my dear brothers and sisters, is the only ijma that is defined by the usulis. The usuliyin have said that this is the definition of ijma, this is the kind of ijma that's binding upon us, and then we go and find that kind of ijma's particulars elsewhere. Okay? When the scientists say, if I say this is a glass of water, and the scientists say that the water is only that which is H2O, 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. If the glass I have in my hand, if it's a liquid, that is not H2O, then that is not water. Similarly, if ijma is defined by the usulis, that is the problem. You've heard all the discussions about ijma. Everybody says ijma hai, but none has ever come out forward. None of these people have ever, this is a special notice, none have come to explain to us from the books of usul that this is the ijma, and this is the definition of ijma, and hence this is the ijma. None. The reason is because they know. Once they go to the books of usul and say this ijma is binding, then we'll say that there is no such ijma found. So hence it's just the, putting the wool over people's understanding, But anyway, so Imam Shafi'i says here, Khabr Wahid, that none of the not a single Sahabi disagreed. And in the last part, we've seen that we showed you like tens of Sahaba that disagreed. So that in itself, and from 30 different books, that in itself disproves this statement. But the point I'm trying to make here is this. Here I have Kashful Asrar, which is a commentary on the usul of Imam Bazdawi, a very old Imam, and this is Abdul Aziz Bukhari, written in 730. Whenever there's a discussion of ijma after his time, Kashful Asrar features prominently. So, what is the usulis who know about ijma, binding ijma, what do they say about it? This is what they say. This is Khabr Wahid, one chain from Bahki, that's it. The Imam Shafi says that there's ijma of Sahaba. Ijma of Sahaba is a big thing. It's very binding. If the Sahaba agree to something, we're bound to follow them. So there's ijma of Sahaba, right? What does Kashful Asrar say? It says, وَإِخْتَلَفَا فِي الْإِجْمَاعِ الْمَنْقُولِ بِلِسَانِ الْآهَادِ بَعْدَمَا اتَّفَقُوا أَنَّهُ لَا يُوجِبُ الْعِلْمَ. That the usulis disagreed amongst themselves whether an ijma which is reported by a khabr wahid, a single chain of narration, as in Itiqad here, single chain of narration, whether it's binding. And he says, ittafaqu annahu la yujibul ilma, and they agreed, ittafaqu, they agreed that it is insufficient. We cannot hold such a khabr al-wahid as part of our aqidah. Such an ijma that reports ijma of Sahaba, for example, but it's reported to us by khabr al-wahid. Usulis says that la yujibul ilma, it cannot be held as part of aqidah. Annahu hal yujibul amala amla. The only debate between them about such a ijma, whether we can hold that such a ijma as part of our practice. So aqidah and practice, they require two different types of evidences. And here is the ulama usul saying that such an ijma, if it's reported by khabr wahid, la yujibul ilma. You cannot, it's necessary for us not to form it as include it as part of our aqidah. This ijma reported is giving us aqidah. The usulis are saying la yujibul ilma. It's rejected in aqidah. If it's part of, because it's reported by khabr wahid, and hal yuju, and then they say the only debate between the usulis was whether it's allowed in practice or not. So here we have unanimous rejection by the usulis of such a report of ijma khabr al-wahid of Itiqad. So here, usulis, people who know about ijma, this is what we are saying. So here, this ijma reported from Imam Shafi is rejected by usulis, because how can you pull a ton with a string? Furthermore, since we are on the topic of ijma, You know, people have been claiming ijma left, right and center. They say this is ijma, that's ijma, this is ijma, that's ijma. For example, here you have Tariq al-Khulfa, and he says, إِنَّهُ أَوَّلُ مَنْ أَسْلَمَ Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq was the first to become Muslim. بَلْ إِدَّعَ بَعْضُهُمْ الْإِجْمَاعَ عَلَيْهِ. Some of them said this is ijma, that Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq was the first Muslim. What? The misuse of the word ijma? Look, I've shown you already in the same passage at the bottom. Ibn Kasir says the Ahl Bayt were the first people to become Muslim. Hazrat Sayyidah Khadija, Zayd bin Harsa, his wife Hazrat Ali, Warqa bin Nawfal. Yet people are claiming ijma. So ijma is not something you. If somebody says ijma and we follow it, ijma is that which is defined by the usulis. Bring me an ijma that obligates from the usul books. You know, Jassas, Sarakhsi, Bazdawi. Bring the usul from there and then show us that this ijma is H2O. That's the problem. So anyway, so here we have a careless ijma. For example, let me show you another aspect of ijma. This is Ali Qari's Fiqh al-Akbar, Mansub, which is attributed to Imam Abu Hanifa. So this Fiqh al-Akbar, he says, you see the difference is not that who to hold afzal and who not. No. People have said this is afzal. But what are the basis of it? It was their opinion? Fine. It's not an obligation. That's the thing. So here, Ali Qari says, فَقَالَ Abu Mansur al-Baghdadi مِنْ أَكَابِرِ أَئِمَّةِ الشَّافِعِيَّةِ that one of the great Imams of Shafi, Abu Baghdadi says, Abu Mansur al-Baghdadi said, أَجْمَعَ أَهْلُ السُّنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ عَلَى أَنَّ أَفْضَلَ الصَّحَابَةِ أَبُو بَكْرَ فَعُمَرَ فَعُثْمَانُ فَعَلِيٌّ. The Ahl Sunnah have done ijma that the most afzal Sahaba is Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Uthman, then Ali, in that order. What is his commentary? He says that there's ijma of Ahl Sunnah in that order. What does Ali Qari understand from this ijma? He says, وَاللَّهَ أَرَادَ بِالْإِجْمَاعِ إِجْمَاعُ أَكْثَرِ أَهْلِ السُّنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ لأن اختلاف واقع بين علي وعثمان رضي الله تعالى عنه إن بعض أهل السنة. He goes, what he means by the word ijma is majority. Not because we have a difference between Hazrat Ali and Uthman. So one person is saying ijma, the other person is saying actually that ijma means majority. So this is the misunderstanding of these people, that when they see ijma somewhere, they say that's ijma. They don't see that ijma, in reality, it's not ijma. Like look, one guy says this ijma, the other guy says no, that ijma means majority. Don't need us say anymore. So anyway, that was that. Furthermore here, talking of ijma, Ibn Hajar Asqalani, makes a statement again here. Because he's talking about the difference between fazilat of the khulafa, and then towards the end talks about Hazrat Ali and Hazrat Usman. And there was confusion, as we all know. Then he makes a statement. Ibn Hajar Asqalani says, وأن الإجماع إن أكد بآخرة بين أهل السنة أن ترتيبهم في الفضل كترتيبهم في الخلافة. That the ijma had taken place later amongst Ahl Sunnah, that the afdaliyah between them is in the order of the Khilafat. So he says ijma took place later, because first there was a difference of opinion, then he says that ijma actually took place later. What? Ijma took place later. First there was a difference and then ijma took place later. He is saying ijma. What does the usul say? Usul al-Sarakhsi, Shamsul Aimma Sarakhsi, Rahmatullah alayh. In a Hanafi fiqh, the three categories. There are many categories. The first category is Mujtahid fi Shara. Mujtahid fi Shara. That's Hazrat Imam Abu Hanifa. Second category is Mujtahid fil Madhab. They are Imam Muhammad, Shaybani, Qazi Abu Yusuf, and so on, his students. The third category, Shamsul Aimma Sarakhsi, Shamsul Aimma Halwani. They are in the third category. What does he say about an ijma? Something that's ijma, that there was a difference of opinion in one age, then later on people agreed on something and did ijma on that. what is the value of that ijma according to the usulis? He says that such an ijma in which there was a difference before and then people agreed on ijma, he goes, Haza la yakunu ijma'an. This is not an ijma. Wa indana huwa ijma'an, but according to us, that is ijma. وَلَكِنَّهُ بِمَنْزَلَةِ خَبْرِ الْوَاحِدِ. But it's like a single chain of narration which is conjecture. في كونه موجبا للعمل غير موجب للعلم. And he goes, such an ijma that took place, there was a disagreement in one age, and then there's an ijma that takes place. He goes, this is not an ijma according to some, but according to us it's ijma, but that ijma is only, we can only utilize that ijma when it's a matter of practice, not mujib lil ilm. It is not used in the matters of Aqidah. Afzaliyat is a matter of Aqidah. Furthermore, check this out. He says, Kana Shaykhuna Aima al-Imam Halwani, who's also from the third group, he says, Yukul, he says, Haza ala qawli Muhammad. So those who consider this ijma, this is that there was a difference in one age and then there was a difference in the, then the ijma took place in the second age. He goes, this is according to Imam Muhammad Shaybani. فَأَمَّا عَلَىٰ قَوْلِ أَبِي حَنِيفَةَ وَأَبُو يُوسُف. According to Imam Azam Abu Hanifa and Abu Yusuf, لَا يَكُونُ إِجْمَعًا. Such a thing is, such an idea is not an ijma. So here we have, there was a difference in the first age, then people did ijma in the second age. The second age ijma, according to those who consider it ijma, they only consider it valid for practical matters and not for Aqidah matters. But Imam Azam Abu Hanifa and Qazi Abu Yusuf, they absolutely rejected it. And not just them, Imam Ahmad, Imam Ghazali, Imam Juwaini, they're also of the same opinion Imam Abu Hanifa, that if there was a difference in opinion in one age, then in the second age, that ijma is rejected. And they all agree that even if this was an ijma, it's only in the matter of practice, not in the matter of Aqidah. Yet we have Imam Ibn Hajar Asqalani rahmatullah alayhi say, وَأَنَّ الْإِجْمَاعَ إِنْ أَكَدَى بِآخِرَةٍ بَيْنَ أَهْلِ السُنَّةِ تَرْتِيبًا فِي الْفَضْلِ كَالتَّرْتِيبِ. The ijma took place after that their order of afzaliyat was the order of their khilafat. What the usulis are saying, that this is not an ijma, and what the muhaddiseen are arguing that this is an ijma. So ijma is only that which is sanctioned by those who are the men, theoreticians, you know, those who, the usulis, those who define an ijma for us. Then we go get the definition of ijma and we find in the books whether it is ijma or not. So however, moving on, because this is really taking long, and I think I should finish really, because it's gone really, but this is the last and final talk. Here, if for example it says here, for example, it says Takmilul Iman mein Shaykh Hazrat Allama Abdullah Muhaddis Delvi Rahmatullah Alayhi Takmilul Iman mein farmate hain कि जमहूर आयमा दरीं बाब इजमा न करना, that the majority of the aymas have reported ijma in this regard. Okay. But in the same Takmilul Iman, further on, what does Shaykh Abdullah Muhaddis Delvi says? He says, wa ijma'i ke darin ja'ast barhami afzaliyat zanniyast. That the ijma is, the ijma in this chapter is that they all did ijma. The afzaliyat is zanni, the afzaliyat is speculative. So the ijma of these imams is that afzaliyat is uncertain. So they have certainly did an ijma, the afzaliyat is uncertain. वो इजमा के दरीजा आस्त बरहमी अफजलियत ज़न्निया आस्त वो अहले इजमा नीज कता न करदा अंत. And those who say ahle ijma, they didn't consider it as definite, they considered this as uncertain, speculative and conjectural. So Shaykh Abdul Haq Muhaddis Delvi is saying that the ijma is upon the matter being speculative. However, further on it says here, in one of the, it says Kifayat al-Awam mein likhte hain ki wa yajibu i'tiqad wa sahaba, so on, I'll translate, it says, और तर्जमा और वाजिब है इत्काद रखना इस बात का कि असहाब रसूल सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम का कर्म तमाम कुम फिर ताबीन फिर तबा ताबीन और अफजल सहाबा अबू बकर हैं फिर उमर हैं पस उस्मान हैं पस अली हैं इसी तरतीब पर. So he's, in one place it says that in such a book it says ये वाजिब है, it's wajib, necessary, obligatory for us to believe that Abu Bakr is first Afzal, then Hazrat Umar, then Hazrat Usman, then Hazrat Ali. It's wajib. So what about those people? Allah Hazrat himself says that there's a difference between Ahl Sunnat and Ali and Usman. So what about those people who differed there and preferred Hazrat Ali over Hazrat Usman? Were they breaking the wajib? Also, it says here, further on it says in Badal Amali, and I translate Rujhan Jali, he says, Allah says that ये के तफजील सिद्दीक कुरान तफजील सिद्दीक यानी हज़रत अबू बकर सिद्दीक बिन द मोस्ट अफजल कुरान और हदीस व इजमाए उम्मत से साबित है, जो इससे इनकार करे करीब है कि उसका ईमान खतरे में हो. It says translation of Badal Amali, he says that afzaliyat Hazrat Abu Bakr being the most afzal is proven in Quran, Hadith, Ijma' Ummat. That is proven from Ijma' Ummat he is the most afzal, and whoever denies it, there's danger for his iman. Right, Ijma' Ummat. Allah Hazrat translates from Ijma' al-Ummah here, he says that, who is the Ummah? The very basis of Ijma' are justified in if you trace the development of the theory, when people added evidences to strengthen the theory of Ijma', this says, the earliest times it says, La tajtami'u ummati ala dalala. Hazur Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's hadith they present, this says, my ummat would not do ijma', get together, agree upon, La tajtami'u ummati ala dalala, upon an error. So who says, my ummah will not agree upon an error. Who is the ummah? Hazur Pak himself says, Sataftariku ummati ala salasin wa sab'ina firqatan. That my ummat will be divided in 73 sects. So ijma' of ummat means Sataftariku ummati, my ummah will be divided in 73 sects. So all 73 sects are the ummah. Do we have ijma' ummat on afzaliyat of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq? Are all the 73 sects in agreement that Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq is most afzal? It doesn't make sense. It says, ye ke tafzil Siddiq, Quran, Hadith और ijma' ummat se sabit hai. What ijma' ummat? So these are the questions I read that, and I read all sides of the argument from everywhere. But when I'm reading this ijma' discussion, and I'm thinking, it doesn't make sense. These are questions needs to be answered. Why? And finally, I think it's taking too long. Because time's really, I think I should finish over here. I missed a few bits out. For example, it says in here that whoever holds Hazrat Ali Afzal upon the Allah Salasa for Mubtadi'un, whoever holds Hazrat Ali Afzal upon the three Allah Salasa for Mubtadi'un, he is a Mubtadi. He is a Mubtadi, he is an innovator. Faddala Aliyan ala Salasade for Mubtadi'un. And amongst the Rawafis, whoever who holds Hazrat Ali Afzal to the three is a Mubtadi. So that means half of Ahl Sunnah that everybody agrees they had a difference between Hazrat Ali and Hazrat Usman. They were bid'ati then, wouldn't they? Further on it says, those who consider Hazrat Ali Afzal to Shaykhain, you can't read namaz behind them. Well, you can't read namaz behind the ones who dye the beard black and wear chains, the same Maulanas, the same hukam. So here it's Allah Hazrat Rahmatullah Alayh is giving all these in faddala aliyan alayhima fa muqtadiyan, whoever prefers Ali on first it was 3 from Fathul Qadir, now from Ashba' al-Nazair is from 3 it's relegated to 2. It says whoever prefers Ali over those Shaykhain, he's a Muqtadi, he's a Bid'ati. I'm not going to say much about it except for this part here. Look here. Ala Hazrat in his Fatawa Rizviya says Rafziyon और Nasbiyon और Kharjiyon को kafir कहना wajib hai. It is wajib to say that the Kharji is a kafir. Okay? This is what it says here. It's wajib to say Kharji is a kafir. Fathul Qadir in 681 after Hijrah. So anybody that comes after denies it, denies the Ijma. Imam Haskafi Hanafi says The Khawarij yukafiruna sahaba nabiyina, the Khawarij did the takfir of the Sahaba. وَحُكْمُهُمْ حُكْمُ الْبُقَاتِ بِإِجْمَاعِ الْفُقَهَاءِ كَمَا حَقَّقَهُ الْفِتْفَةِ. That the Khawarij are not kafir, though they did takfir of the Sahaba, Hazrat Ali and so on. We do not call them kafir. And why we don't call them? بِإِجْمَاعِ الْفُقَهَاءِ. Because there is ijma of fuqaha, which means Maliki, Hanfi, Shafi, Hanbali, all of them had done ijma of fuqaha, كَمَا حَقَّقَهُ الْفِتْفَةِ, as it stated in Fathul Qadir, who died in 681. So Ala Hazrat in Fatawa Razviya is saying that Khawarij are kafir. Okay. Fathul Qadir, Durul Mukhtar, Imam Haskafi is saying that there's ijma of fuqaha that the Khawarij are not kafir. So why Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah alayhi, in reference to Bazazia, who came in 827, is saying that Khawarij are kafir, going against the ijma of fuqaha? So if people can go against the ijma of fuqaha and takfir of Khawarij in such a serious matter, then some odd report here that such a person is biddati, if he prefers Ali over them is a biddati, then if ijma of fuqaha doesn't hold value, then what value does one or two fuqaha saying this then? Bunyatul Talibin, Ala Hazrat said the Bunyatul Talibin, Ghaus Pak ne likha hai कि अकायद रिफ से ये है कि उनका तफसील देना अली करमौलजा को तमाम सहाबा पर. The Imam Hazrat Ghaus Azam Dastagir Pirane Pir says that Rif's tafzil is the अकायद से रिफ्स है, yeah? तर्जुमा अकायद रिफ से है कि to consider Hazrat Ali afzal to the Shaykhain or the Sahaba is from the Rafzi Aqidah. Okay, fine. Ala Hazrat himself is Ghunyatul Talibin, Fatawa Rizviya. People question that in Ghunyatul Talibin it says that Murjia, the Sahaba Abu Hanifa, Murjia will go to hell. And it also says that Abu Hasan Ashri, Ashaira, all the Ashaira in Ghunyatul Talibin, Wallahu Hasibu Kulle Mubtadin Dalin Mudillin, that Ashaira says that Allah Ta'ala's kalam, kalam and nafsi and so on. And in Ghunyatul Talibun says that the Ashaira are Mubtade, innovators, misguided and misguiders. So Allah Hazrat replies to that and he says, किताब गुनियत तालिबीन शरीफ की निस्बत हज़रत शेख अब्दुल हक मोहतस दिल्ली रहमतुल्लाह का तो ये ख्याल है कि वो सिरे से हुजूर पुरनूर सैयदना गौस आज़म रज़ियल्लाहु ताला अन्हु की तसनीफ ही नहीं. So in reply to when it comes to Ashaira, Allah Hazrat says the Sheikh Abdul Haq Modas Delhi said it is not even a book of Ghaus Azam. Then he said because he was alone saying it, Ibn Hajar Makki says that there are additions to this book. So he is saying the Ghunyatul Talibin first of all is not the book of Ghaus Pak, but Ibn Hajar says that there are additions to this book, and hence he replies that these bits are additions to Ghunyatul Talibin. The same thing. So what guarantees us that this Ghunyatul Talibin, this bit is not an addition? Do you have a guarantee of that? I think that's self-evident for everybody to see. Finally, I think most of the things I have said, but just another quick thing, because all other people mentioned. I think this much I have raised some questions with respect, and my head is in the feet. My head of respect is in the feet of Allah Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi. These are questions as a student, and I'm sure I need answers. I have laid it down in front of you, and so for you to understand that the problems I as a student have found in research. Finally, some people say that Hazrat Ali says, this hadith, that La yufaddilunu ahadun ala Abi Bakr wa Umar illa jallatuhu haddul muftida. Whoever considers me afzal to Hazrat Abu Bakr or Hazrat Umar, I will lash him the 80 lashes of a slanderer, of a muftari. 80 lashes. And this Maulana Sahab, for 2 years, they on TV said, Dar Kutni mein likha hai, Dar Kutni mein likha hai. When we told them that it's not in Dar Kutni, they changed tack and they said, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal ne kaha hai. Well, the researcher on this guy is a Salafi Wahhabi researcher. He says in the footnote to that book, Isnaduhu Zaif. The Isnad of this hadith are Daif. First of all, this Ibn Asim, the other Maulana Sahab on TV was saying the same thing. Here, let's look at Ibn Asim. Same thing, the researcher on it is also a Wahhabi from Riyadh. He says Isnaduhu Daifun. So this Isnad is Daif. Sunnah of Ibn Asim and Fazali Sahaba, the Isnad of a Daif for a start. But secondly, the biggest problem with this hadith, this Asar of Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, let's suppose that it is Sahih. Let's suppose the Sanad is Sahih and forget all this Daif. Let's say it's Sahih. You know what the problem is? The problem, my dear brothers and sisters, is that Hazrat Ali is reported to have said, La yufaddiluni ahadun ala Abi Bakrin wa Umara illa jallatuhu haddul muftari, that whoever prefers, calls me afdal to Shaykhain, I will give him 80 lashes. If this was about the fadail, not a problem. But the problem is in this hadith is that it legislates a punishment. And not an ordinary punishment, it legislates a had, a divine ordinance. So this is actually considers Hazrat Ali as like not having knowledge. Who is Hazrat Ali to legislate a had? Hudud, my dear brothers and sisters, are mentioned by Allah and His Prophet. And the fuqaha, all the four fiqhs of fuqaha, they have specified which are hudud and which are not. There are no additions to hudud. So Hazrat Ali is saying, don't prefer me over anybody, I will give him had. Had. Why is it that not a single faqih, not a single jurist, nor a muhaddis has ever placed this hadith in Kitab al-Hudud, in the chapter of hudud? Not a single faqih ever considered this as a had. Whereas Hazrat Ali, with Tabyun al-Haqaq, we find frequently he says, this is our opinion, lana qawlu aliyin. This is Ali's opinion, this is what we follow. Imam Azam Abu Hanifa was in Kufa, the center capital of Hazrat Ali. In the recent times, Hazrat Ali is placed to saying this in a khutbah. Why didn't Imam Azam Abu Hanifa include this tafzil as a had in fiqh Hanafi? Why didn't a single muhaddis consider this hadith, this report, in his chapter of hudud? Why doesn't a single faqih lash people 80 lashes for tafzil? Whilst they accept everything else from Hazrat Ali. Hudud in number are this, look. Hanafis say that there are 5 hudud. The had of theft, had of adultery, had of drinking, had of intoxication and drinking the same, had of qazaf, had of slandering. Right? 80 lashes. Then the others, the non-Hanafis, they say qisas and apostasy are also 2 hads. So altogether there are 7 hudud in all Islamic literature. Tafzil does not find itself in any of those hudud. Hazrat Ali says, La yufaddiluni, do not hold me afzal to anybody, I will give them 80 lashes. La yufaddiluni, don't hold me afzal, me. So why if somebody holds Hazrat Abdullah bin Masud afzal? There's no 80 lashes for him then. So there are inherent problems with this hadith. I mean, there's so much could be said, but the problem is, it's legislating a punishment. It's legislating a had, 80 lashes. And hudud, as Hanafis, there are only 4 actions. For others, only apostasy is a had. For others, but all of them have been legislated by the Quran and Sunnah and Ijma of Sahaba. All hudud. People say, Hazrat Ali alayhi salam said 80 lashes for drinker, but actually the had is already in the Quran, in the Sunnah, in the practice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Imam Sarakhsi in Mabsud says that Hazrat Ali merely was saying that it's 80 lashes because Hazur Pak used to, there are 40 people hitting a drinker with shoes, so all 40 shoes were 80, 2 each, 80. So the problem is that, my question is, why is this had not included in any of the jurisprudence, in any of the chapters of hadith, and everywhere? If this was a had, why is it not implemented? Why the fuqaha not mention it? They knew that this is an attribution to Hazrat Ali, and it's not true, because Haddul Muftari legislates a punishment, and for that we just don't need daif hadith. Even a khabar riwayat sahih is insufficient for it. There are a lot of other things I had to say, but I'm really rushing because I'm really going over time. And you know, in Sunan al-Kubra, for example, here I have in Kitab al-Hudud a report by Hazrat Ali, which says, لَأُوتِيَ بِرَجُلٍ شَارِبَ خَمْرًا لَا نَبِيزًا مُسْكَرًا إِلَّا جَلَّتُهُ. If I find somebody who drinks, I will give him had. It's strikingly same in formulation to that one. But they place Hazrat Ali's call, Hazrat Ali's report in Kitab al-Hudud. Why couldn't they just place this one there as well? So these are inherent problems. I mean, just by screaming and shouting, my dear brothers and sisters, the matters don't get resolved. It's evidence that we need for such a thing. So Hazrat Ali legislates a had, which is not found in any of the fiqh books. Everybody rejects this from Hazrat Ali. Then what are we to think of that? It's had al-muftari, it's 80 lashes. Why don't you write a fiqh book and say there's 80 lashes for had? You will not have a single reference from any book of Islam that there's a had for tafzil. This in itself proves that this is a fabrication attributed to Hazrat Ali al-Islam, even if you find a single Sahih sanad from somewhere. So this is also a common, without actually justification, without actually thinking what they are saying. And what if Hazrat Ali is saying, if you hold me afzal, what about if you hold Hazrat Sayyidah Fatima afzal? What if you hold Hazrat Umar afzal? What if you hold other people afzal? Abdullah bin Masud and his students did. Then there's no 80 lashes. So it seems that only 80 lashes are to do with Ali. But however, my dear brothers and sisters, this was the final part. I have raised some questions, I asked some questions from Matlab Kamrain. And I hope you understand the argument so far in all three parts. I apologize that this is taken long, but you know, if anybody watching this, watch all three parts. Part 1, Part 2 and Part 3. Once you watch all three of them, then I'm sure inshallah the matter of tafdeel, or at least the argument and the debate in tafdeel will be apparent to you. And think twice before issuing fatwas. And look at these people who issue fatwas of bid'at and even kufr. I've read that out to you. So this was the whole matter in tafdeel, the whole series. I really am sorry if I've made any mistakes, if I've been emotional or anything. That is not my intention. I have, wallahi al-azim, with sincerity and honesty, I have presented these things. If I have made mistakes anywhere, if I have read Yaqwa instead of Yaqwi, then forgive me. Is talking to the camera. So, you know, this is the case. Tafdeel, it's a long time there's been debate going on, so I thought might as well just deal with it and show everybody what the whole debate is about. Now, I have presented the case for the speculation and conjectural nature of tafdeel. And please forgive me if I have said something out of emotions. And please be sincere in deen, and then have a look at all this, and then the matter will come clear to you. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.